home ESPN show where we are coming to you live from our dining room. My name is Taylor, and today in sports, our top story, so-called nonprofit makes millions off cheap labor and Americans love it. Also, in other news, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused, for the first time, all major U.S. sports to be canceled for an unknown amount of time. But back to our top story this evening and the question all Americans want to know: should college athletes be paid? Today, I have a special guest with me, former high school football and wrestling standout and current coach for multiple youth sports teams, and our in-house sports expert, Mr. Michael Sampson. Welcome, Mr. Sampson.
Thank you for having me, Taylor.
Mike, I'm going to jump straight into the question that all of America wants to know: should college athletes be paid?
Well, Taylor, the simple answer to that complex question is yes. But it goes much deeper than that. After researching the NCAA, I was astounded on the amount of money that was being made off the blood, sweat, and tears of these young athletes, who see almost none of it. Every weekend, Americans sit around their TVs and watch teenagers and young adults engage in sporting events for their entertainment. According to Dennis Anderson, the author of Top 10 Reasons College Athletes Should Be Paid, these athletes playing for the National Collegiate Athletic Association, better known as the NCAA, are not allowed to receive compensation for their services and are working for free for the NCAA, which in turn reported $11 billion in revenue last year alone.
As a student athlete, juggling the pressures and demands of college life, how much time does the athlete spend on their particular sport?
That's a great question. According to Patterson from smartasset.com, and author of Should College Athletes Be Paid, collegiate athletics is a full-time job. Division I student athletes spend on average 35.4 hours a week on athletic activities during the season. Then you add in classes, studying, and a few hours they get to sleep. This leaves very little time for a part-time job. Now, that same amount of time at a job paying minimum wage would be more than $1,000 a month. That would be a nice chunk of change for young adults usually living for the first time on their own.
You claim the NCAA had a revenue of over $11 billion last year. Where does that money go, and why don't they pay their student athletes?
Well, that's another great question. Well, the NCAA, a non-for-profit organization who pays their top executive millions of dollars a year, was established to protect athletes. When the NCAA was founded by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1905, the institution was committed to the idea of amateurism for not providing a stipend or salary to these students. According to Anderson, now over 100 years later, the NCAA is no longer committed to the student athlete's best interest, bringing in more than $11 billion a year. And to quote Mr. Anderson, there is nothing amateur about the big business of college sports. The NCAA brings in more than enough money to provide a decent living wage for all college athletes. When confronted with this question, why college athletes aren't being paid, the NCAA doesn't really have a good answer. Besides, it's just tradition.
So what would be a few benefits for compensating student athletes?
Okay. Well, introducing pay for college athletes would greatly reduce the burden for many families trying to provide for their basic needs, like clothes, food, and transportation. According to Patterson, most families are tasked to provide these necessities. Also, providing pay for these athletes would eliminate much of the corruption in college sports. All too often, boosters will pay top athletes or give them goods to attend certain universities. When this occurs, many of these young adults get caught, lose their scholarship, and get kicked out of school, leaving them nothing except a tarnished reputation. One example of this is famed running back Reggie Bush, who received a home for his mom and a used car from a Mr. Lloyd Lake in exchange for guarantee to be Bush's agent when he had reached the NFL. When this incident surfaced, Reggie Bush was stripped of his Heisman Trophy, and his former university, USC, was heavily penalized. Please have a look at this short clip of Reggie Bush.
Yahoo Sports is reporting that 2005 Heisman Trophy winner Reggie Bush is expected to be stripped of the award by the end of the month. The former Southern Cal running back would become the first player in the 75-year history of the award to have the Heisman Trophy taken away. The report also says the award would be left vacant for '05. The NCAA found major violations in USC's football program and levied serious sanctions against the school in June. The website on Tuesday cited two anonymous sources close to the Heisman Trophy Trust, who say the group's investigation is almost complete and would agree with the NCAA's finding that Bush was ineligible during the '05 season. Bush now plays for the Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints. Jim Bell, The Associated Press.
Many opponents to paying these athletes will say that giving them scholarships and free room and board is more than enough compensation to play a game. To quote national championship coach Dabo Swinney, "There is enough entitlement in the world. We should not pay college athletes." How do you respond?
Well, I'll respond to that, Taylor, is that I agree. These benefits are essential, but nowhere near enough to sustain a young adult working full-time for a university and, in many cases, making a substantial amount of money for their particular school. With billions of dollars of revenue a year, why would you not pay someone that puts in hours of extra time developing their craft to better serve the institution that recruited them?
Another argument is, how would you distribute the money among athletes and other sports that do not draw as much revenue? Do you pay some players more because they make more money for the college?
Well, I agree that during the initial process, there would definitely be a lot to iron out. How do you distribute this money accordingly? I'm certainly not in favor of paying these kids millions of dollars or some outrageous number, but according to Mike Holm, the author of The Product of a Flawed College Football System, less than 2% of college athletes will make it to the professional level. By paying them for their work and services, this teaches them a valuable life skills lesson and money management. I think all athletes should be paid close to the same, according to the number of hours they put in for their sport. I also think the pay should be consistent with the average salary of a beginning job, close to minimum wage, varying slightly, taking into consideration the cost of living.
Thank you, Mike, for being with us today and providing us with your insight on America's most sought-after questions in college sports. We have just a little time left. Do you have any closing thoughts?
It's been great being here with you, Taylor, and yes, I do have a little bit to say. Thanks for having me, and as you can see in today's world of college sports, there's a lot of money to be made. But for the ones who make it possible, they don't see any of it. Although they work countless hours every week sacrificing their time and body, they in turn earn no pay. In the words of Rigoli, the NCAA has the perfect business plan. They provide a product with no labor cost. But the true cost does rest on the backs of these student athletes who put in work day in and day out. If they push against the system, they will be replaced with the next body ready to fill their shoes. In closing, there's a happy medium that could be found, and I believe it is not far away. Student athletes should be paid a minimum living salary, and there is more than enough money in college sports to provide wages for student athletes.
Thank you for joining us tonight on this episode of ESPN Home Edition.